to everybody here. Let me get on the stage and we can get started here. Young Gun Miguel, hope you both are doing well. Had a good weekend. Edu, how you doing, man?
I'm good. It's an early bird kind of day. Woke up really early today. Um, Went to see some friends, and then work a little bit. Very busy Monday. But it's nice to be back. It's nice to have you here. So yeah, I don't know. It's a good way to start the Mondays for me, or to finish the Mondays in this case for me.
Yeah, at this point, this is now like mid Monday for me. So we we're in 6 hours apart, folks. For those of you who don't know, I'm on the east coast of the U.S. and Edu is in fact in Barcelona, where there's all the action that's happening. I think that's would be a good place to start off, man. Can you share some maybe highlights from ETH Barcelona with the folks that have joined us today, GM to LG and DFED stuff?
Yeah. So for everyone who doesn't know, and to provide some context, this last weekend was Ethereum Barcelona, ETH Barcelona. It's the first time it was done here. But for folks who are not familiar, Barcelona was sort of a groundbreaking space for Ethereum, and so they had this event from Wednesday to Friday, conferences, usually the typical kind of conference style. But what's really innovative was the fact that one of the producers of the event was an NFT based space. And so the aesthetic of the conference was really nice. The visuals were extremely taken care of. There was an NFT public gallery. There were spaces for silence and yoga, and there were so it was really well taken care of. There was a stage that was called the forest stage, and so in between the speakers they will put like sounds of the jungle, sounds of the forest, and so it was a really nice visual experience. It felt really humble. It felt really nice. People were around and everyone was chatting, and it was in a very cold space. Like if you will take out all the decorations, you will see how cold and sort of conference and corporative the space felt. But with so many decorations and add-ons that they put on, it felt like a very nice, solar punk, chill kind of conference. So really nice. Besides that, some of the talks that were quite interesting. There were some Griff, of course, had some very interesting conversations, and Spence from MetaMask had some very interesting conversations, very interesting talks also. There were quite interesting projects. Giveth, the whole Giveth people were there. MetaMask was also there. Superfluid was also there. It was really nice because here in What Hive we use Superfluid, so it was really nice to see the Superfluid folks there. A bunch of projects that I have never seen, like sort of physical in person. So it was really nice. There was, I think, one of the sort of highlights was this project that basically provides blockchain technology to access products that are like really niche. So, for example, coffee from a very far away place, or like so they use blockchain to access this very premium but niche products. Um, it's called Ethic Hub. So it was a really nice experience to see these folks. They were like, giving away coffee from this farm in Mexico, and all using blockchain as a way to connect with this farm and consumer. So they were sort of a very interesting project to take a look at, and a lot of swags, a lot of people giving away things. The highlight of the swags was shapeshift sort of collective cards that they expect to give away in every conference, every main conference. So it was really nice to have this sort of physical NFT that looks like a Pokemon card. Really cool, really nice. So yeah, I think that's part of my highlight. Back to you, Ted.
Sweet, man. Yeah, I'm getting FOMO looking at the pictures as they've come through last week and over the weekend. I got the card up here on screen if people are on YouTube. Check us out, 1HTV on YouTube. Here we got some good visuals, like particularly of Youth Barcelona here. So The shapeshift cards are indeed dope. I'm pretty sure Rohek, I'm sure he'll correct me if I'm wrong, but Rohek is in the audience. GM to everybody who's with us, and Rohek helped with the design on these, as he's helped with many a design for both Shapeshift and One Hive. Very cool looking, man. Very cool. And it's got a POAP link on the back, right? So it is indeed complete and crypto native.
Correct. And they have some secret, Willis has some secret incoming features.
Hey, look, I love it, man. POAPs are an amazing NFT distribution like tool. And if it's part of a larger scheme, I think it's a really cool and sort of easily accessible incentive. Yeah, I'm interested in hearing a little more about this Ethic Hub. I got it up on the screen on YouTube for folks that might be interested. This is Ethic, as in ETHIC, morals, Ethic Hub, HUB.com. What are these guys up to? This looks really cool.
Yeah, they do really interesting stuff. It's not a typical thing that people will, link blockchain or Web3 to, but Ethic Hub, I don't know, I felt it was really interesting. It's a very novel enterprise, so kudos to them.
Are they using NFTs to like help to pay for these, like, or again as a means to invest in their projects? No. Okay.
No, they're using like a more of a Gitcoin approach to do this kind of things. So yeah, we will see how it evolves. It looks really nice, and the coffee smells really well.
Hey, that make my day. It's good enough. Right on. Well, I did want to hit a few housekeeping items here for folks that might be joining us either on YouTube or on the Discord here. GM to everybody. Hope you're off to a good week. Start your week. And that is the Honey token. So if there are any Honey holders, obviously, I'll speak for myself. I'm a major DAO contributor and Honey holder. If there are others in the audience, the token was undergoing an upgrade of sorts in the last week and became non-transferable. Well, rather than suffer a potential exploit, it is non-transferable, and this issue is being resolved. But if you're trying to swap to and from the Honey token, say on Uniswap on the Gnosis chain, you're not going to be able to do so, at least not until the issue is resolved. So if you have any interest in learning more about this issue, this sort of technical issue, head over to the One Hive forum. I'll drop a link to it in the chat here on Discord as well. But this is something that the core devs are on, and they will be fixing sooner rather than later here. And people who are listening to this show on a weekly basis and or following the One Hive community will be the first to know. And this goes for both like swappage as well as if you're an LP, you cannot withdraw any liquidity tokens. It wouldn't really matter in the sense that nobody's trading on the DEX anyways. So it's basically all trading of the Honey token has halted temporarily. And this will, again, be corrected in the next couple of days, I believe. So we'll drop a note to that on the forum post on the technicals there in the chat here. I also wanted to mention one quick item that has passed the governance, has passed our garden, right? The One Hive DAO uses gardens as its governance front end, and a recent proposal that passed was for Harvest Season 1, and this is a initiative spearheaded by Paul 2 of the One Hive DAO. It is effectively a season-based retroactive funding mechanism. I think he might object to my use of the word funding. I do have it up on the Gardens UI here on screen on YouTube. Head over to 1HTV on YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and you can see all the good visual overlays that we have here to help people understand exactly what it is that Edu and I and other people are talking about when we're on the live stream. This is essentially a way to redistribute governance rights within the DAO itself. So it's important as a something to know about that's happening at One Hive, but also as the broader import of this type of proposal in the context of a bear market. So essentially, the first the first generation, the folks that founded the DAO, some of whom are still very much active, such as Sem, who is going to resolve the token issue. There are some amongst the early founders of OneHive that are less active or not active at all, and they're large honey holders. And so this is not unique to OneHive. I think there's some aspects of it that are unique to our DAO because it's simply like we've had liquidity and been doing the DAO thing for longer than most other DAOs. But in this case, the question arises, so you have a new generation of people who want to keep building. How do you appropriately distribute governance rights to those people so that they can do the work of passing proposals and redistributing resources and advocating for the DAO, all of this. So Harvest is an interesting initiative. If any of what I just said, like, sort of perks your interest when it comes to DAO governance and tokenized democracy, liquid democracy, through multiple iterations and generations of leadership. This is something that Paul has been big on, and of course you can read his full-length forum post that's linked through the Gardens dashboard. But this is something that I think is worth knowing about and recently passed our DAO governance. So with that in mind, I'll pause really quick. I don't know if you have anything to say on any of that related to retroactive payments or token distribution, Edu. But what do you think, man? I don't know if you talked to Paul about it or not.
I'm good to go. I usually don't dive into things I don't know so much, so I will stay,
okay,
just listening to you.
Well, I'll make this quick, man, and then I'll pass you the mic here. I want to let people know that we're going to really start to use the Messari governor more actively in our live stream. I think it's a really cool tool. It's also pretty much the only of its kind right now that exists in crypto, which, if you're familiar with Messari for crypto research on specific projects or just looking at price action, they have a lot of different products that you can access in the menu. The top of the page is messari.io, but the governor here in the center is a new product that they've spun up, I believe, this year in the last couple of months. And it's designed to basically aggregate all DAO activity in a simple, easy-to-use dashboard. So we're going to use this as kind of a part of our show UI, as it were. Like, we can access a lot of really cool stuff and search through a lot of things quickly here. They have a really great, easy to sort of understand, high level explanatory interface for each of the DAOs and the proposals that they might have. So rather than just a series of links to external pages, which they do have for both Forum and Snapshot, they really provide a nice containerized summary of all DAO governance activity. So once you come into Governor, if you're on Messari.io, I'm going to do a quick walkthrough and then we'll pass the mic here to Edu to give us our first story. But you want to go to Governor, you want to go to Proposals. Okay, this is the important, component of the product here, where you can search by you can either search by keyword or you can search by a bunch of different filters. So for example, you can search by a specific DAO if you want. Multiple DAOs, you just check the boxes. You can search by status. So in this case, remember, these are proposals. So you can choose a status being, is it active right now? Has it been canceled, executed, failed, pending analysis, preliminary discussion, succeeded, upvoting. So they have all these different potential filters that you can use to, filter the proposals that you might be looking for or interested in tracking. Also, they have a separate category to sort of identify keywords or topics of discussions themselves, proposals, and so you get the idea. This is a tool that I think is, if you're bullish on DAO governance, or at least DAO as a sort of new form of human organization, particularly crypto native, building, this activity here is only going to increase. The volume of activity here would increase. So having a filter tool like this is pretty amazing. You can also add some additional high-level filters here, such as upcoming votes, things that are queued, completed, and then there is integration with Discourse and with Snapshot. So as we mentioned earlier, you can see here for preliminary discussions, these would all be related to the Discourse forum for any of these DAOs, and you can get a high-level snapshot idea of the sentiment for any of these if you're looking to click into things that have high conviction at the forum level. Basically the top line and takeaway here is this is the most effective tool for fundamental analysis of DAO operations and activities that you're going to find. And here we are in the bear market. If you're bullish on crypto and it's pretty clear that those DAOs that survive are going to create and provide new innovation to the space. If you're an investor, right? We don't give investment advice on this show, and I'm not telling you to invest in any specific thing, but we're saying if you are looking to invest during this bear market on those projects that are most active and are building the coolest shit, this is probably the best place to go to do your analysis, to do your fundamental analysis. So I'm shilling Messari a little bit here, but it's also because it makes our lives easier for Edu and I. We're looking for great stories, and we'll be using this as our sort of source of truth going forward here. So without further ado, Edu, I'm going to shut the hell up, and I'll let you kick it off here with this story about Gitcoin.
Sure. All right. Hello, everyone. Just for those who just joined today or just joined now. So we go through headlines from basically projects that we have sort of filtered out. For now, different sources of truth, mainly a snapshot, and we go through governance decisions as a temperature check to see what's going on the ecosystem. So the first one is Gitcoin. And Gitcoin has a proposal for a 3 million on treasury diversification. For those who are not familiar with Gitcoin, Gitcoin is a space for funding public goods. It has so many things, but one of the things that they are becoming known the past time is, sort of open source project funding and public goods funding, and they have the Gitcoin rounds. So this one specifically, it's a proposal seeks to move 3 million of GTC, which is the Gitcoin coin token, to a multi-sig wallet to execute the previously proposed treasury diversification. This will be exchanged for USDC via an agency desk in order to support critical DAO workstreams funding needs. Some individuals' DAO workstreams have been funded in GTC and are now basically facing an asset liability mismatch. Many contributors have wage denominated in USD terms, yet workstreams only have GTC with which to pay said contributors. With this market that we all having at the moment, work streams now face an increased risk of not being able to meet these obligations. So this designated agency desk, will be able to execute a transaction within 3 days, and this will ensure that each work stream has the stables needed to meet near-term expenses. This was a vote that started on July the 6th, and it ends today, July 11th, 2 a.m., and is voted for in favor with 4.6 million GTC tokens on the vote, and 446 people voted on this. So it's interesting. This is a different way. This targets something that I feel it's really interesting and really key on the DAO space, which is certainty. How do you provide certainty to contributors? How do you provide some sense of stability to your contributors? And I think doing this kind of diversification into a stable coin provides this. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna again sort of pat Paul on the back, as well as other people at One Hive, been thinking a lot about diversification into stable coins, and the importance of this going back to last fall, right? So before we fell out of the second parabola. And I think it's absolutely on point, right? It seems as though this is an OTC deal, right? Is that I don't know if it uses that terminology in the proposal, Edu, but this is not like a gigantic swap they're going to execute on Uni.
No. This is not. I don't. They don't use that concept here. They basically they have different options and circumstances of things that will happen, but basically, it's when the work streams need, they will then provide basically. So this will be allocated to these funds that will be for this.
Got it. Yeah, it's this is Shapeshift is doing similar things. They just had They have some DAOs I noticed, they outsource this sort of treasury management work, and then others have it as an internal work stream. I forget if Gitcoin has an internal treasury management, because they refer to the text here, I guess, as the agency desk. So I assume that means they're outsourcing this specific job. But in the case of Shapeshift, it's the same, right? So there's regular allocations of, in that case, the Fox token, but then they have management internally that does it. But it's not to say there's one right way or the wrong way. I think the idea is a lot of DAOs right now are saying, okay, we have a treasury, it's all denominated, or a significant portion is denominated in our project token. How can we turn that into stable runway? Totally.
Correct. And I don't know if you recall, but we talked about this proposal, the first part, like the one that was looking for consensus, a few weeks ago, and we talked about the llama. I remember that we had trouble pronouncing Yama or Llama.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is a proposal that Llama is this agency desk. It's this economic infrastructure for DAOs.
That's right.
So they are the ones who are will provide this, and they actually explain here a little bit about what will be, the cost. They say that this agency desk will charge 20 BPS as a fee and will likely be able to execute the transaction within 3 days. So we will see. We will see how it goes.
Llama should partner with Hedgie. For everybody, I'm going to show this to tomorrow. Tomorrow at 2:00 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have a super group Twitter space with like half a dozen different projects. It's going to be cool. All talking about the bear market and like DAO survivability. And Hedgie Finance, I'm just going to say, they have some really interesting tools. And one of them is a way to do this similar kind of OTC. Like if you have a community of contributors right now, Shapeshift is using some of their tools internally. So the idea is, if you're paying people in stables to begin with, and they're willing to take some of the project token instead or in lieu of total USDC payments, then you can issue an NFT, one of these Hedgie NFTs. So let's say let's say you're earning 1,000 a month as a contributor. If you're like, okay, I'll take 700 in stables and 300 in the project token. What Hedgie lets you do is take those 300 in the project token, lock it in an NFT that doesn't unlock. It vests those tokens for a predetermined period of time. And the contributor, you'd receive those project tokens, right, immediately upon compensation, but you couldn't unlock them. You could sell them on a secondary market, but like it's a cool way to diversify not only in terms of your treasury, but diversify the way the contributors are being incentivized. I think this is a space where you'll see a lot of innovation during the bear here.
Yes, and Hedge is a very good example of this, I think. So that's on the Gitcoin side. We will see the results of this, of course, in the following weeks and months. So let's see if Llama/Yama protocol. I would love to see how they worked out this, treasury management for an organization that is so well established like Gitcoin. Because if it's a good example, I think a lot of people will follow them too. So the next one, it's Aave. So Aave put a proposal on July the 7th that ended yesterday, July the 10th. And it's a proposal that basically is a UX upgrade governance framework. This proposal explained that recently Aave received multiple demands from third parties to be integrated into the Aave app. This proposal presents a framework that intends to provide governance guidelines to standardize the process of integration into the Aave app. And this proposed governance process for UI integration is to have each entity to do a governance thread open for at least 5 days. Then you open a snapshot vote with a starting voting period of 24 hours in the future, with at least 3 days open vote period considered valid, with, of course, a quorum of 100K Aave yes vote on it. And the Aave interface GitHub maintainers will then review the integration, and provided that they don't detect any, if they don't detect any security issue, they will proceed with the merge. Very simple proposal, but at the same time very powerful. Because it sort of provide a framework of how you can sort of plug in with Aave. And then they have, for example, also examples here in the proposal. They talk about, if a wallet requesting a direct support on user onboarding, an on-ramp requesting the integration of an on-ramp widget, a notification system requesting to be integrated into user's dashboard, like all of the things that goes into the Aave ecosystem and the Aave app. And it's not written in a very clear way, but it does the job to explain what they want to accomplish. And this has passed with 40K Aave, 99% of approval, and about 1,417 votes on this. People voted on this. What do you think?
Yeah, so it seems like just formalizing the threshold to automation. I don't know. Or permissionless in the sense that, yeah. No, it's, yeah.
And then we have two other proposals from Aave too. One, which both are quite similar in the sense of bringing new assets to Aave. The first one is to add reserve right, RSR, as a borrowable asset. And this one, they explain a little bit about what it's the reserve project. And they explain that the mission of the reserve project is to help people cope with the effects of high or hyperinflation and aims to eventually eradicate it. It's currently available in Latin America countries where hyperinflation has had the most significant impact. It currently has less than 600 registered users and around 120,000 weekly app visitors who use the reserve stablecoins for daily purchases, such as paying for groceries, paying the bills, the usual. The full version of the reserve protocol will be live sometime in 2022. And from that point on, the reserve right token will serve the purpose of A, ensuring, and B, governing stablecoins created in the reserve protocol. This proposal asks for the community support in listing this token, the RSR token, as an asset to borrow. By listing this as an borrowable asset, Aave will become the first DeFi protocol that allows borrowing RSR and could therefore benefit from borrowing demand from the RSR community and potentially other parties. Have you heard about this reserve right project before?
This is one of those that's definitely, been on the radar, but I haven't looked into it specifically. I have not, no. And this is essentially a request to list as collateral.
Right. So yes, and
borrow.
It's mostly, it's mostly. It seems to me that it's mostly a Spanish speaking kind of project. They explain that their sort of team has 200 people gathered in 2 tribes, 15 guilds, and a bunch of squads. It's a very huge kind of organizational explanation that is quite hard to actually read very well. But they have a list of, the tribes, what is a tribe, what is a guild, what is a squad, and so on. And they have a website that is reserve.org. And it's a really nice, aesthetic and so on. I don't know. I have not seen an app, or I mean, here is an app. Sorry, and we will see. It basically, the model says pay, change, and receive dollars, and cross the portal, whatever that means. So I don't know. It's an interesting app. It's the first one I have seen like this in Latin America. I have not seen many like this in Latin America. About like this reserve protocol, and I don't usually see projects like this, like from Latin America, being on Aave. Like I have never seen like a Latin American based protocol feature on any main kind of space like Aave. So I don't know. Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. I have no idea about liabilities, how it works, and so on. But yet, I think it could be interesting to play around with.
Man, I think that stable coins are just, this is again one of the things I think there's going to be the most continued experimentation with during the bear market. And so I don't know enough about like RSR to know. I don't know even if it's an algorithmic coin. If there's anybody in the in the audience here in Discord or on YouTube that knows anything about RSR, feel free to jump in the chat, the One Hive TV chat. Let us know stuff that we don't know. Link things up. We can happy to put them on screen here on YouTube. I do have the URL up here if you're interested in learning more about RSR. It is reserve.org. So they paid for that URL. They got good VC backing. No, I don't know. But all I'm saying is this, anything, and this is actually a really nice segue. I just want to drop this in here. Like, if people didn't see this last week, this is probably one of the biggest Aave stories, like the Aave news related to this, but it's actually native to Aave, which is the launch of GHO, which is going to be a stable coin. Okay, so just like much like RSR, it's I don't know, it's not going to be the same tech, but the idea is Aave is going to spin up its own Aave native stablecoin, and the link to the forum post can be found in the Twitter. If you just, this is probably pinned to the Aave Twitter right now, but just something else for people to take a look at. As far as these blue chips are concerned, like, some are more active than others, but Aave right now is not only active, but it's got like innovations that it's getting ready to deploy. So if there are crypto projects that are going to pull us through, the phase that we're in right now, it's Aave Maker. We'll definitely keep tabs on those for you every week.
Yeah, and if you, like, for example, go to Twitter to the Reserve Twitter, they seems to be present on Colombia, Argentina, Ecuador, Peru, and Panama. I'm surprised they're in Panama, actually. So I don't know. We will see. This is the kind of project. I mean, I'm always excited for Latin American projects. There are not so many, at least to my knowledge, and it's nice to have one of these here. This one passed, by the way, with 29K Aave, 70% approval. A little bit of sort of a hesitancy and disapproval. 30% of a no. So it's one of the first times I have seen like not a 90%, 80% approval on an Aave proposal, but I guess they have their own reasons to justify this. And
I think that
the next proposal.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to make a point on that, because I think that's a really astute observation, like noting that there's a little bit more opposition. I think that this is actually characteristic more now of the context that we're in. There are a lot of people that are just like, they're still in this sort of do nothing, wait and see, like, mode for some of these, because this takes work, right? I mean, actually integrating as a borrowable asset is going to take dev work. Okay, well, so I think that it's good. We'll see a little bit more contention around things, hard thinking about how to allocate resources and even implied resources through a proposal like this. So yeah, really valuable.
Yep. And the next one, it's similar one. It's at support for LUSD. And they explain that LUSD is a stablecoin minted directly by the protocol users by opening a trove and depositing ETH as a collateral. All the contracts of the liquidity protocol are immutable, which makes LUSD the most trustless stablecoin currently available on the Ethereum mainnet. That's a biggest statement. Since the protocol is immutable, no additional developments are planned. LUSD resilience makes it highly sought after stablecoin for DAOs and protocols looking for diversified treasury, and users looking for a cost-effective leverage on ETH. The current focus is to grow the DeFi ecosystem around LUSD to enable more diverse use cases. These proposals aims to add USD as a borrowable asset on Aave V2 mainnet. Have you heard about liquidity or LUSD?
Again, this is sort of same on my radar as RSR, but it sounds to me like similar to DAO and like My Finance. I don't know exactly what the difference is, but I'd be curious to know. You can check out liquidity.org, folks, if you're listening here, liquidity.org, and they got their analytics page as well. I'm showing on the Dune page here on the YouTube. Just by the numbers here, so total LUSD supply was over 1.5 billion back in May, and right now sits at under 200 million. So yeah, it's a lot like other stables. They've had like a really dramatic fall
Right.
off of the cliff. And it's interesting with the stables, it's not obviously price action. I mean, some it can be. If you're UST, you can be. But for most
Yeah.
stables, it's not necessarily depegging or decline, obviously, in price, but it's just overall supply, and it's fallen off like significantly. So I think obviously having an integration with Aave would help to ameliorate that. But I don't know anything about like
Yeah.
the tech versus say like have you ever used before, like cheat
Nope.
my finance before?
Nope. The good thing from watching the curves in the chart in the web page regarding the prices of, I know it's a stable coin, but it can go up, it can go down a few cents. But it seems to be nice that this stable coin has sort of kept very stable on the past month. Like I'm seeing from a year about, and it seems to have been stable. Changed a few cents barely. So I don't know. At least on the chart, it looks nice. It looks good.
They passed the Chris Bleck test. I'm surfing their website on
Right.
YouTube.
Right.
For whatever that's
Right.
worth.
There you go.
They're legit.
There you go. Yeah, and I mean, they in their website they explain, for example, how to generate revenue using this space protocol. They say you can deposit LHC to a stability pool and then liquidations gain and so on, or you can stake um, and earn the revenue from the agency fees and the redemption fees in ETH or in LUSD. I don't know. Seems quite
Yeah, I'll
interesting.
have to
We
look
will
into
see
this.
how.
One thing to note really quick, if folks in the audience, if you've used Liquidity or if you intend to test this out, because I always want to think if we're pointing people towards projects that are easy, that have apps running, you might test things out. I just want to sort of say, look into the docs quickly. I know that in the case of my finance, whenever you have zero, first of all, there's a percent that's got to come from somewhere. Like if you look over the Dune page, right, they've generated, I think it's like, whatever protocol revenue, over almost 29 million. So that's good for them, good on them, right? Where does that come from? Well, if it's a 0% interest loan, right? So if you can borrow against your ETH, in the case of my finance, maybe in the case of Liquidity, it's upon withdrawal, you pay like a 10% fee, like a 5% fee. So just be aware of that, right? ETH gas is like under 20 Gwei right now, so using mainnet stuff is actually possible. Just be aware that like there will probably be a withdrawal fee if there's not one like on the borrow itself.
It's correct. So we can move on to the last headline, which is Olympus. And Olympus put up a proposal that basically seeks to designate Balancer as a platform to host the majority of Olympus protocol own liquidity. That's this is a very hard to pronounce for me. In a pool that is based on DAI, and ETH. It's like a triplet, or I don't know how you call that, but basically three coins in that pool. They explain that Balancer fulfills all the requirements to facilitate the upcoming core upgrade to the protocol and is also fit to serve as a primary hub for business development, being compatible with Olympus Liquidity Service. The proposal looks to first designate Balancer as the main liquidity hub, second, designate Balancer DAI ETH as the main liquidity pool, third, create a managed DAI ETH pool initialized with pool weights at 50, 25, and 25, and fourth, migrate the current Sushi DAI and the ETH liquidity to the Balancer pool in 5 batches, adding ETH and reserves to match the DAI amount in each batch. And this proposal has been voted in full favor, 100% approval, and 300K on it, and 138 voters on this. So they have a lot of faith in Balancer, don't you think?
Yeah, this is interesting to see, and it's always when they list some motivations as avoiding liquidity fragmentation.
Right.
Essentially, so there's two things I guess that come to mind when I'm looking at this. The first is there's a major project like people's criticism of Ohm aside, they still got a pretty significant treasury in the millions, if not tens of millions. I'm not exactly sure, but I know it's a significant sum. And so what they do with that liquidity matters, because it's going to affect the books of, the DEX that they're existing or not existing on. So in general, just leaving Sushi is happening, and going to Balancer instead. Like, there's obviously some degree of politics involved in that, probably at some level, but politics aside, this is where like, I don't profess deep knowledge of liquidity, in the way that other people in One Hive do, people like Monstro, Makerman, people like even Paul, for example, who's been talking about this more recently. But it's pretty much common knowledge that the tokens that are paired together in the liquidity pool, they affect one another's price action. So it's not to say if you pair with a stable, you're going to have a more stable price on your project token, but you're going to be more stable than if you pair only with ETH. Like, if your deepest liquidity is with ETH, it's going to track ETH harder. And, the dynamics of the token price action is going to be different than if it's priced with a stable coin. So how does this loop back to this own proposal that you've raised, Edu? I think it's that, Balancer offers a logistical liquidity creation tool that is different, because it's not binary, right? You can create a pool that contains all three of those things. So the Ohm token with ETH and DAI. So I imagine, particularly at scale and the numbers that these types of folks are working with, as looping back to like a treasury management decision, ultimately it's not a treasury, but it has to do with like the tokenomics, and how the Ohm token will be bonded in liquidity pools. So yeah, I think this is interesting. I want to say that this might be a trend, Sushi aside, like that we might see with other DAOs, is the movement away from these binary pools into a balancer like scenario to try to optimize their liquidity in the bear market.
What will be interesting is the impact on Sushi, because I don't think they are moving small amounts. They are dividing in 5 batches the moving of these reserves.
Mm.
So that's quite a lot.
And that's got to be a security measure. In other words, it's yeah, I agree. It's a lot. And you could probably find, if I don't have, well, I do actually. People watching on YouTube, this is super nice. So check this out. So this is the Messari front end. So this is like an interface that will give you all the information you need to know about the proposal. And up in the upper right-hand corner, you have these 2 buttons. You have one that says forum discussion, and the other that says off-chain vote. So the forum discussion is going to take you to their discourse, and then the other will take you to Snapshot, which we already saw Edu was talking from. But if you want to get into the numbers, you can click forum discussion here, and I won't go through this right now, but I'm sure that there are specific numbers contained within this proposal and or on the Olympus forum.
Yeah, my only conflict from this proposal is that they don't say how much. I guess for security reasons they won't say how much, but they don't say how much money, how much in coins they're gonna transfer. That's the only thing I'm sort of trying to find, but I couldn't find what I was looking for.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I guess we'll find out. Like, I don't know. And this is mainnet, right? Like, this is all going to be, yeah. Well, and obviously now is the time to do it as well. Mainnet gas fees are pretty low right now, I think. Let's check and see.
Yeah.
What is right now, mainnet gas. Oh, it spiked to 71. It was beneath 20 earlier today. By the way, man, I just want to say, as I'm thinking about gas fees, and like, I know it's been paused for the time being, but you were first on that Arbitrum Odyssey, man. We were like weeks out ahead of that. So GM to people, and if people who have been with us here in the audience on Discord and YouTube for a couple months now, y'all knew about that. Hope you were able to take advantage of it in that first week. It's paused right now, but I don't know if you've heard any more about when it will resume or anything about that. The Odyssey.
No, I have no clue when. They haven't paused anything. They are waiting for the Nitro launch, which is like an upgrade to the protocol. But they didn't specify when was this gonna happen or anything. So I don't know. But they actually Messari added a new analytics dashboard for Arbitrum Odyssey. So it's interesting.
Cool. Folks can follow their Twitter. I think that that's a great way to participate here. in some of these new projects. It'll be interesting to see how the L2s do. What's your gut tell you, Ed? Are we gonna in the next couple of months? Is it going to be an L2 rally, or are people gonna continue to just stay on ETH mainnet? Gas is cheap. Stay on their L1 like Polygon. What do you
I
think?
think I think it will depend a lot of the success of places like this Odyssey thing, because a lot of people will be onboarded. So I think a lot of that will depend on the success of project like this. I think it was healthy. Um, they were healthy to pause this if they saw that it was, they don't have the infrastructure to be able to cope with this rather than having a bunch of angry people in the middle of the Odyssey complaining about um, gas or whatever they want to complain about. So I don't know. We will see.
Billy made an interesting comment though the other like last week when he was talking about this and saying, it's like the decision to or the reason why they paused it aside. Now when they resume it, people are going to FOMO. Like everybody's waiting. As long as they don't wait too long, right? But they sort of, I think there's a lot of people who are now got eyeballs on it, and they're like, oh, I'm going to get in the next phase or whatever. So we'll see. I don't know if it's you never know crypto. They're clever marketers abound. But yeah, folks, keep an eye on Arbitrum, and of course, well, I'm keeping an eye on Optimism and just seeing how things evolve over there in particular, because they leaned into that public goods push. I'm curious to see what comes of that.
Yep. So we will see. I hope the neutral launch is not so like let's say like in 5 months. I hope this happens quite soon. Otherwise, people will sort of, forget. You know how time works in the crypto space.
Oh yeah,
time is.
There's a timing to that for sure, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So we will see. But I already claimed my first NFT from the Arbitrum Odyssey stuff. They look cool. It was pretty easy, but it is true. It was at times the network was congestion. It was quite hard at some points. It will take an hour or two to the transaction to use the breaches. So I don't know. I feel like it's healthy to have done this, and to not fall into this sort of rush that everything has to be rushed now because everything has to be FOMO whatever. So I don't know. I like what they did. Let's see what will happen.
Right on. Well, if people hadn't heard about Hop.exchange before, it's a really useful tool. I mean, we've been talking about it before, we've done videos on it, etc. But if you're looking to move capital assets across chain, Hop.exchange is a good option. There's a number of different options out there, but from my sort of layman's knowledge, right, it is one of the most decentralized options as compared to say Connext or some of these other bridges. That's because it sort of uses a true Uniswap inspired model where instead of having centralized routers, you actually have liquidity providers that enable these cross-chain swaps. So if I'm wrong in describing that, like if there's a other side to that, I'm happy to be sort of corrected. But I'm going to go with the direction which Luigi suggested. I trust Luigi's dev knowledge, and so it is a little bit, in my experience, Hop.exchange is a little bit more expensive to send cross-chain swaps. So going back to Arbitrum, if you want to move capital over there, you're looking to use Optimism or really any of the chains that are supported, you're going to probably pay a little bit more on the transfer than you would if you're using some of the other tech. But it's, I think, if you're looking to, if you're willing to sort of pay that extra for something that is a bit more decentralized, I think it's worth considering. They do have a limited number of chains. And so those would be essentially mainnet and then both L2s, Optimism and Arbitrum. And then they have only two L1s, which is Polygon and Gnosis. So, if you're living in and around, if you got assets in and around the Gnosis chain in the neighborhood here, One Hive, etc., definitely a good tool to use as well. You go straight from Gnosis chain over to Arbitrum if you want.
Correct. And I don't know. It was, I think, one of the most popular used exchanges on the first week. So there is something there that I think is interesting. I think we have time for RomDAO. I love RomDAO, so we would like to explain about RomDAO proposal and snapshot.
Sure. Yeah, so this was one that I came across just perusing Messari, and I'll get it up here really quick for folks that are watching on YouTube. 1HTV, folks, if you're here in Discord, head over to YouTube, 1HTV, and you can tune in and see what we're talking about a little more easily. I'm going to pull it up here. So yeah, this was, I was scrolling through and I saw the header that they had here in Messari was full liquidation, and then it's like this RIP 2081. So I had to click in and see what this is all about. Yeah, Edu and you've talked about Rome. I actually hopped in their server early on. This is, for people who don't know, this is like an Ohm fork on Moonbeam, I think it was. So in the Polkadot ecosystem, right? What we really liked about it at the time, thought it was interesting, was that it seemed to, so it used like Ohm as a tokenomic substrate, but then it had this very intensely gamified and like RPG storyified like aspect to the project. I don't know if you want to talk a little more about that, man, but this is an interesting proposal, but if you want to give a little more context on Rome.
Rome DAO, it's a very interesting project from the narrative point of view. So they basically took just to provide context, it was a finance tool that spin off this sort of gamifying experience, and they took the Roman Empire as a narrative for building their storytelling, and it seemed to me at the time that it was really fun. Like they have different guilds, and all of the guilds are names on there, like Consul, the Chaos, Grapes, all of these names for the houses of Rome, which are like the governed houses in this space. And then they will have like campaigns and wars and like a gamifying process, and you will win tokens by engaging of the game and engaging of decision making and so on. So I don't know, I like them. We had some conversations with them because they have quite an interesting token economic aspect. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't really get involved in the community. I don't know if you did, Edu, but I thought it was an interesting experiment, right? If in this sort of hype of ohmification. I mean, I don't forget exactly when the project launched, but it was like last year, I think, right? Last fall or something.
I think so.
So, essentially, I'll go straight to the snapshot here and see if we can get it open. We should be able to. Yeah, forum discussion first, actually. This is basically a way for it seems as though the DAO to survive through enabling token holders to cash out at a preset rate. So let me see if I can get up the snap really quick. Here we go. Where is it? It's really cool. They bring it. They bring in all of the snapshot, like statistics, and even the wallet voters and key info here into the Messari front end. Let me see if I can just get it up on snapshot because there's some unique text I think there. Give me a second. Okay, so in some sense, this is, as it's flagged in Messari, it's a treasury management an operations decision, and there was a choice between yes or no, so an up-down vote as normal, liquidating the entire treasury, or partially. And so this was a choice for full liquidation. And the execution, what this means is it's a simple choice between liquidating or not, or partially. If it's successful, they will pull this pair of Rome Frax. So Frax is the stable that it was had deepest liquidity with, and Frax, of course, is a stable coin. I believe it's a hybrid stable coin, and liquidate the treasury into stable coins, and that way to mitigate security risks is the best value for token holders, and allow redemption among all Rome token holders. And I think that if I bring this up in here, it'll show a little more detail. It should, yeah, here we go. So there's like 3 main points to the proposal. The first is the goals, rather. The first is to like generate stable is sufficient to fund the continuation of the game while allowing token holders that just want to avoid any further downside price action to cash out, and essentially to issue a new token to people according to how long they've been a part of the project. So this is a treasury management like process, decision, proposal, the likes of which I haven't really seen before, because it's not about taking out a portion of the treasury like we saw with Gitcoin, where it's like, hey, let's carve out this portion and then get an OTC and get some stable coins in there. This is a decision in effect through the snapshot to basically liquidate the existing treasury that it looks like is considered as partially to be held as this liquidity pool with Frax. And there's a specific, what do they call it? Fixed rate, yeah, $12 per Roam token. So like if you're a Roam holder, upon passage of this proposal and execution, you'll be able to cash out for $12 per Roam. It's like a fixed rate. And this will again generate additional runway for their treasury. So it's kind of like if you're done and you want to like cash out and help support the community in a sense at the same time, you can do that. It will provide some additional work to fund continued development, which seems like a part of the underlying intention here. And then there's also this ancillary new token. So I haven't dug into this in super detail. I'm not like an active member of this community, but it is something that caught my attention as like a pretty drastic treasury management decision. But it's also interesting to see how each community is sort of handling their shit these days.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the chart of the Rom DAO sort of road like map and how it has been going, when they launched it, they had a very like expensive token, around when everyone was expensive at that time, $600, $100, and then it started going down after. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they sort of not even they sort of stay stable in a way in around January, around $100, and so start going down, down, and it was usually in between 20, and then after March it dumped into the 15 sort of price. So 12 doesn't seem so bad since the price it's quite low. So it doesn't seem so bad. We will see. We will see.
Hey
As I
man, if
always say.
people, they if they time the bottom at the end of May at $4, they can exit now to fixed price 3x, such as crypto.
Yeah.
But everybody else,
Yeah.
It's a lot of ski slopes out there. I do. This is why we're here. Find like decent projects, and we're not financial advice. Find projects you like. Messari Governor is a great way to filter through that are still active, making these decisions, and we're entering into that phase where you can place some bets on projects that might do well in the long term. And to that effect, I guess it's worth mentioning really quick. Like on Messari, one of the projects that's also stuck out in terms of governance activity was Synthetics. So sort of a blue chip project. They've had over 13 proposals in the last month go through, and so I'll pull them up here on the. People can look through this if they want on their own here, but I'll pull up Synthetics with the filter, and you can see they got a lot of improvement proposals here. So it's kind of like if you look at blue chip projects, some of them have very little going on, right, and they may end up dying. Right, or they may end up transferring their liquidity elsewhere and like changing the multi-sig, and who knows, and allowing some other group to sort of transform it into something different. But you only know that by tracking the governance activity. And then there are others, bigger ones like this, Synthetics. People largely forgot about it. I don't know a lot of people, but they're building, right? And the people who found, like we said, Ave earlier, the folks that are around building in and around these projects. In 2018, like, it's not like they've gone away or like died. Some of them may still be active, I'm trying to say. And so that, you never know what's going to build out or sort of be incubated by some of these blue chip DAOs that are like really still active despite market conditions.
Yep. And that will be all for today, folks, on my end.
Oh yeah, it's top of the hour, man. You got to roll out. All right, I appreciate
Yeah.
you, man. It's always a good time chatting.
Yes, and look forward to see you all next Monday. So take care and hope this week it's calm for everyone. Take care.
All right, it'll be well, man. And GM to everybody here. I'm gonna keep trucking for a little bit. I got some more to share with all y'all. And we'll do like I'll just continue trucking on like the YouTube in particular. If you all want to head over there, 1HTV, open a new tab, go to YouTube, 1HTV. It'll be right there at the top. We're streaming live. We'll get some good visuals up there for you. I'm going to talk a little bit about technicals today, like in price action. We're not going to turn that in. This show is not going to turn into like a chart show with, any financial advice or price calls. But I think that it's really important that we talk a little bit about like the macro situation right now. Just a quick like education run through if people don't know, and then what exactly the charts look like. If this is something that people are doing on the regular, you're in crypto after all, then cool. If you have insights on this, share in One Hive TV, the chat channel there. I know I said this before, but there is an expectation that the Discord will be overhauled soon, TM. And to that end, we'll be able to you'll be one channel away from where the conversation is happening. Right now it can be a little bit difficult to find it in the Discord, but let's do this. I want to touch a little bit, like I said, on macro here, so I'm going to bring up some stuff on the screen here on YouTube. And I think most people in crypto, particularly those in the US and Europe, and they're well aware of what the Fed is. But if you're not, you really should educate yourself on what the Federal Reserve Bank is, what it does, beyond the sort of, weak tropes of, I don't know, self-ascribed libertarians. I don't know what to say. Like, you have to understand how the system works, not like the political bias that certain people might have, because it affects all markets. The decisions that the Fed makes are like inescapable, and it's not to say they're good, bad. I'm saying like it is it's indispensable to understand what the Fed is and what it's thinking about doing and what its actions are likely to be if you're an investor in the space, right? You have to understand. And crypto, I found, can be quite insular in some regard. Try to be as neutral as possible on this show, right? Ultimately, I think that looking at a website such as that, which I have on YouTube right now, which is the New York Fed's economic indicators calendar. So you can literally just Google Fed indicator calendar. Okay. Now things can go a lot more complex than this, but this is a great place to start. Because if you're invested in crypto, you're thinking about investing in crypto, this space is contained within a much larger economic environment, which most people know. But the Fed has this insane impact on the direction of that larger macro environment. So the quick overview here, right? The Federal Reserve sets lending rates. And what that means is, if the Fed raises the interest rates, that basically means it's more expensive to borrow U.S. dollars. Borrowing U.S. dollars and the borrowing of U.S. dollars is like how the modern global economy, like it spins on that axis. Okay, access to USD at reasonable rates stimulates business because it's easier for them to borrow and expand at scale, right? Across, it drives a significant portion of the world economy. And so if the Fed is raising rates, it's going to make that borrowing more expensive. It's going to have a slowing effect on the global economy. It's just like the laws of monetary physics, as it were, okay? Monetary economic physics. And so the opposite is also true, right? The Fed cuts rates, it's going to loosen, right, the sort of supply of U.S. dollars. Of course, if you've been hearing about rampant inflation, I think rampant is seriously hyperbolic. It's not a good thing. It needs to come down. And so the one thing the Fed can do is raise rates. They raise interest rates. Now, if you're looking for an indicator, so this week, for example, right? If you're looking on the screen, what you'll see is the calendar of different significant events, and some of these are more significant than others. But if we're looking at July, today is the 11th, which is the release of this consumer expectations, but arguably last Friday was the employment situation. Okay. And these numbers are really good. And so there's that, right? And there's this strong underlying employment figures in the United States, but everybody's looking to this Wednesday. So 2 days from today, there's going to be the CPI information is going to come out. What this means is the CPI is a consumer price index. This is the most significant contributing calculated factor towards inflation. So the idea is like this: Wednesday is a good day to look at and think about if you're in the market, right? Or if you're not in the market, you're thinking about things. If the CPI shows increased inflation, the Fed's going to come out and crank up rates again, and we're probably going to tank. We don't know, right? Not financial advice here, but I'm trying to explain how trends typically take shape relative to these types of decisions in the Fed. If, on the other hand, you had a strong jobs report last Friday, and Wednesday comes out and inflation is at or below expectations, you're going to probably pump, right? So because what that means is the Fed's previous decisions to hike up rates more than expected is taking the desired effect. What I'm trying to explain here is that all of what I'm describing and the interest rates and these larger macro trends like Bitcoin and Ethereum are correlated with these things. Okay, there's a period in time where they might be decorrelated. Early on, they certainly were decorrelated, but right now, we're moving, rising and falling with these macro trends. So if you are in crypto right now, you hold it, or you're thinking about entering, whatever it might be, I'm never going to tell you, nobody on this show is going to tell you coins to buy. It's more like, think about the environment that we're operating in, stay safe, don't use fucking leverage. I'm sorry, okay? If you're doing that and you're excellent at it, you've never gotten wrecked, you're amazing. More power to you. But in general, we want to provide safe investing advice. And in this case, I think find good resources to tell you what's happening in the broader economy. Okay, rather than being entirely focused on crypto. Part of my contention today is if you want to succeed in crypto, you got to be paying attention to the larger environment. And so some of these calendars, in combination with understanding the role of the Fed in the economy, is a valuable thing to just be aware of and to do. Right. If you look at the charts real quick, bring up TradingView here just for a second. I am not some chart wizard technical guy, but it's worth taking a look here, at least at the S&P. We're sort of, down a little bit from last Friday. S&P, of course, being one of the larger indices in the stock market. Bitcoin is still, managing to stay above 20K here, dumping a little bit since the end of the weekend or towards the end of the weekend. ETH, of course, doing the same thing more or less. Ultimately, we could just crab along here. Who knows? But again, take a look at the S&P. Look at these, the sort of patterns here in the larger stock market. Take a look at what the Fed's deciding to do, because those things will definitely trickle down to the crypto space. So with that, I got two more quick stories I wanted to cover, and then I think we're probably going to sign off for today. These are more local, close to home type stories. So the first is, they're both actually farming opportunities. So if you're already holding tokens, for example, okay, and you're here in the bear and you're looking for opportunities to do some farming, there's two opportunities I'll bring to your attention here that are friends of the One Hive DAO and our Gnosis chain ecosystem. The first is Giveth, and they have single-sided staking as well as GiveETH here on Gnosis chain, but their most recently added pool is a Give XDAI LP here on Gnosis chain, and the farming is paying out about 340% APY. So if you're a Give holder, providing some stable coin liquidity for the Giveth project can earn you a pretty handsome reward here, despite the larger market conditions. And of course, pairing with a stable coin is something that you got to be aware of in terms of impermanent loss. But if you're, the way I like to think about some of these LP opportunities like this one with Giveth, if you are a fan of Giveth, if you like the project itself, then you're bullish on the token long term. And so becoming a liquidity provider, your liquidity providers are essential to tokenized projects. I mean, that sort of goes without saying, but the LPs that are being market makers for these DAOs are really important. And so in some sense, participating in that and incentivizing it with additional Give is good. If Give sells off, you're going to end up with more Give in your stack, but you're also going to have accumulated some from the farm. Again, if you're long-term bullish, it's an interesting way to stay, have some skin in the game here. and the other is for Shapeshift. So I don't have, I'll bring up the app really quick. These I don't believe are deployed yet, but Shapeshift is going to have a new round. They're into their fourth round of Fox ETH farming. Okay, so this is going to begin in the next, I believe, in the next couple of days. I think that there should be some announcement on socials today. But you can go to app.shapeshift.com and simply you can connect your wallet. I'm going to open it up right here just so you can see the demo wallet. Connect your wallet here. They got a number of different wallets available for integration, which I think is really cool. They got everything from MetaMask, Tallyho. They got XDeFi is a new one. I think they got Wallet Connect soon, if not yet. And they have a bunch of opportunities for Fox, and there are more. They're going to be coming online on different chains. The one I'm talking about right now will be Fox ETH on Uni V3. So it's going to be on mainnet, but there will be some good, healthy APYs, I imagine, offered in Fox for you to participate in that Fox ETH pair again on mainnet. So keep an eye on the Shapeshift DAO socials to see when that farming opportunity becomes available. And then the way that you would access it is simply by going to app.shapeshift.com. It's the easiest way to do it, most likely. And so you should be able to do it right within the app itself. Want to support, again, local community partners here, and Shapeshift, and both Giveth and Shapeshift have good farming opportunities coming online here. So with that, I believe we come to the end of today's show. I got a fellow who may be coming on to chat a little bit about NFTs. I'm going to double check. I wasn't sure entirely if we're going to be able to make it today, but that is all that I have here on the docket for everybody for the DAO News Show. I'm going to go ahead and just put on the wait screen here on YouTube, mute up here on Discord, and we'll see if we'll be able to get an additional interview on. But for those of you who have joined us up to this point, GM to everybody, really appreciate you popping in. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope you're off to a great week. And we might be back in a little bit with an interview, but for now I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Hit the pause button. GM everybody. We'll talk to you soon. make sure everybody can hear me. Hope everybody is doing well today. We're back here, hopefully for another chat here with Joseph. He, fellow who's worked on and founded a couple of crypto project ideas, and I think he joined us in the stage audience here just a moment ago. I'm going to ask him, if you're there, my man, if you could raise your hand, and we'll bring you up. There we go. All right, Joseph, GM man.
Hi. Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, indeed. How are you doing today, man?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you?
Can't complain. Can't complain. I'm back from being away for a couple of weeks, so I'm glad to be back in the saddle here doing the broadcast. You have a good weekend?
Oh, yeah, it was a great weekend. A lot of things happening, and yeah, we wanted to connect for a long time. It's great that finally we connected. It's finally good to connect with the team and see how it goes. Like the One Hive TV, like been following you fine for a while.
Yeah, but we had a chance. I remember one week, I think we ended up not being able to connect, but we chat a little bit, at least sort of. I shilled Club Raphael as an idea. It's interesting. Had a fellow on at the time who was highly interested in fractionalization of real estate in the U.S., and he seemed to run into some legal issues. I don't know but how that project is panning out, but the concept was definitely highly interesting.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, there's a lot of legal hassles in the Club Raphael. So before we go ahead with the Club Raphael, I'll introduce Club Raphael in a very brief so that everyone here would have a better picture of what we're talking about.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. Why don't you give an intro to yourself, too? I realize I haven't really laid the groundwork here. You and I crossed paths briefly, I guess, a couple months ago, and you had been a part of Club Raphael, which I'll give you a chance to explain. But if you also want to share a little about yourself and sort of how you came into the space, Joseph, that would be awesome, too. If you want to start there and then just segue into the Club Raphael project and or anything else you're working on at the moment, man. I'd love to hear.
Yep, that'll be great. So, like about me, by education, I'm an engineer. So that's how it goes. And so after that, I was not actually working in a company. So I was working for social causes. I was working with the tribals. I was into the social service part for a couple of years. Then I realized, yeah, you need money to live. Happiness won't sustain yourself. You need money to live. So the hard realizations in life. So after that, I started working with certain corporates briefly for a couple of years. So then I started like my own company called Xwords, which was into in transit advertising, the programmatic advertising space. So basically, what we used to do with Xwords was so we were building something for the self-driving cars. So basically, once self-driving cars come in, maybe around 2030, so that is estimated time it's gonna be popular in the US. So that time, a person sitting into in a car would essentially would just give the destination where they want to go and just sit in the car. So we were trying to be a screen in front of them which knows everything about the car, everything about the person, and everything about the surroundings. So this is what we had a vision, like what we were trying to build. I was working on this project for 5 years. So the project, like we had operations in India, Qatar, and Hong Kong. So we are doing good, and then after that, COVID came, the company crashed, and we sold out the company. So that time, I was into just COVID. Like you have nothing better to do, so just reading, researching, and the stuff. So a couple of my juniors they came up with this idea called Polka Dex. You might be knowing that company, Polka Dex. It is a peer-to-peer decentralized exchange on Polkadot. So basically, that's how I got introduced with the crypto world altogether. So I was an initial investor over there. So I was a mentor, advisor for the team because they are my juniors and stuff. And yeah, so that's pretty much I got interested in the crypto domain. And then obviously there was no looking back. So I got interested, and then again you go down the rabbit hole, you learn more stuff, you keep going down and down and down. So yeah, so that's essentially I think all this journey of a lot of us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So then I started consulting for a few projects. So one of the good couple of projects, one is first thing the Polkadex, and then the major work I did was for Club Raphael. So Club Raphael was essentially working on the real estate, NFT, travel domains. So I'll summarize Club Raphael, what they were doing. So basically for Club Raphael, what we were trying to build is, how do we put it in a very simple way? Let me see. Yeah, so basically like if you have like, it'll take an example, I'll give you the live example. So take an example of an apartment in Burj Khalifa, like an apartment in Burj Khalifa. So you take it and fractionalize through NFT. So assume you have 100 NFTs out of it. So now if you own one NFT out of them, you own like 1/100th of the actual physical property. So like assume like you have like 10 percentage of one apartment, and well, like maybe you have like I have like 10% of Burj Khalifa, and you have maybe like a beachside villa in Miami. So now I own 10%. That means I get to stay there 35 days every year. So basically, the division of the days. And now maybe you have like 20% of beachside villa in Miami. So now even if I stay only like 10 days in my place, I can put the rest of the days which I don't stay into a pool. So basically, if I can put my extra days into a pool, and I can stay anywhere in the world. So it's like just owning just one particular place, you can just travel anywhere across the world. So it's like the 1:1 swap for each day. So that's essentially how Club Raphael functions. Am I clear?
Yeah, it's it's a very cool idea. I mean, it in some ways is akin to like NFT timeshares in a sense, or is there any sort of time duration attached to the
Yeah,
fractionalization?
it's kind of NFT. Yeah, it's kind of NFT timeshares, but with the added advantage of having the ownership.
Right,
So the timeshare, you don't get to own the place. Now you get like literally own the place.
right. And so is this
Yeah, so
that?
if
Yep.
you want to technically how it functions is, so if you want to go technically how it functions is, I'll just give a brief about the legalities of that. So basically, if you have one property, so that property will be held by a DAO, and that DAO will be owned by the 100 NFT owners. So essentially, with the NFT, you get the ownership of the DAO, and the DAO in turns own the property. That's essentially how that loop works.
Got it. And so there is a property in Burj Khalifa that is funded, or is this considered like a potential for the launch funding, or are there physical properties that are already in the works here?
Yeah. So basically, I was majorly involved with the go-to-market strategy, and then getting the basic the layout done, getting the initial community in place, setting up the chain part of it, putting out the. Now we are setting up the whole thing on Polygon. So I was, and the gamification method, that how you encourage people to work. So basically, the first initial setting up part, I was involved in that. So that was my contribution for that particular project. Then like right now I'm also working with another project called Limoverse, which is kind of a health ecosystem. So I'm majorly contributing into the marketing aspect of crypto. I mean, which that by itself is a niche. So
Yeah. So this is Limoverse. This is the other here, correct?
yeah, it is the other project which I'm working with. Club Raphael is one of the projects that I'm associated with. The other one is Limoverse. So, like Limoverse is essentially a health ecosystem where we have like a coin called Limo, which would essentially enable you to access a lot of health infrastructure. Yeah, so that's essentially the health infrastructure. The other one, like if you consider Club Raphael, what you consider is more like a travel real estate based crypto project. This is more like a health focused crypto project. So, like to brief what all comes in Limoverse. So basically, it's kind of an umbrella kind of a thing, the health ecosystem, where you can plug in like a lot of different projects in there. Like, so as of now, we have like 4 to 5 different projects which we are working on. So the first project would be the genetic testing. So you do a genetic testing and you analyze your DNA, and with that you figure out what is the your future like possible causes of your illness. Like genetically, you might be prone to this, and then you give a lifestyle suggestion. Okay, you do this. So we'll give a 12, the project will give a 12-month, 12-week program to follow based on your genetic structure and your lifestyle. And once you follow this lifestyle, you just take care of your health. You automatically make money also. Like you get credited with like we have this thing of 300,000 limos for just taking care of your health. So that's how we are setting up the project, and we are adding out new projects in there. So one of the other projects in Limoverse would be creating a digital twin of yourself. So that would more work like you have like your exact digital replica, which including all your like organ, the body functions, how each of the blood flow, like all of your exact body, the exact replica of how your body functions. That's called a digital twin of yourself. So now you create a digital twin of you. Then maybe then you ideally want to build that. We're still working on that. You want to work on a metaverse model where you get into a metaverse, maybe an Oculus or something, and then you literally see your digital twin in the process, like each of your blood flow, each of the processes. And then you increase like, maybe like 2 cigarettes a day or like to 10 cigarettes a day. And then you literally see how which affects each of your different organs. And maybe you say that, you work out like 20 minutes a day, and then you adjust the parameters, you get like what are the changes that's happening. So that is another project in Limoverse. So we are just building up more and more project. And then like other project in Limoverse are like something called Healthify, which is like a move to earn kind of a platform. You walk and you jog or whatever physical exercise you do, then you keep earning based on that. So yeah, so there's a lot of projects we are plugging in into an ecosystem like Limoverse. Yeah. And then like basically for Limoverse, we are also creating utility where you'd be able to use these coins for a lot of health related activities. Like if you want to go for a hospital, if you're going to go for like a health insurance, anything related to health, or like health supplements. So these kind of things. So gyms. So we are looking at tie-ups with all those utilities related to health.
So
So yeah, so that is essentially
I
Limoverse
see
in
here
a
on
very
the
nutshell kind of.
I see on the Sweat and Earn project you have like a launch countdown. So is this a token that's launching, or is this just the
Yep.
project in a couple weeks here? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a project we are launching. So we are doing a kind of a soft launch model where we launch these projects one by one into the market. Then, like, get more people on board, see how it goes. And then maybe towards the end of a year, we'll going for a like hard launch kind of a thing. What are the tie-ups? So right now we are doing the soft launch in a couple of weeks.
So what chain will the liquidity launch on?
It's BSC.
It's BSC.
It's in BSC.
Got it. Okay.
Binance.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. And so the role of blockchain in this Limoverse project concept is the incentive to do X, Y, and Z, right? So following a certain
majorly
diet
and
or
like
moving,
there's
yeah.
like
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, we have also listed out a few other things like we're still building. Honestly, I'm still in the process of building the project. So yeah, so one of the other things that we also kind of the possibility that we thought right now a lot of the private companies hold the data of a lot of health related data. So we want to keep all those things on a chain. Like if you're doing the DNA testing or you're doing a blood testing, so all of these information should be ideally on a blockchain which is logged, and only you have the access to it. So now if you want to sell out your data, you essentially get a reward for your health data being shared with any company for the research purposes and stuff like that. So that's kind of a data fi. So we have got like a project like that. We're also building on that particular project. So we hold the health data. So now everyone owns their own health data. We keep it on a blockchain. Now it's your option to give that data out for research to, again, make money by giving out your data. Or now if you don't want to give out your health data, you choose not to give out your health data. So basically it's like getting more control over your health space in a much more holistic way.
I got it. I'm curious to know here. So, like in the tokenomics scheme, like where I imagine if people are doing these things within the app, they're going to be earning these tokens, which is like an emissions rate or some type of mining protocol. Like, is it in the tokenomics scheme? Is this something that's still to be worked out? Or I'm curious, like, is there I see a token cap, but like, is there any idea of where those tokens that are being distributed to people to incentivize them to do X, Y, and Z are going to come from?
So we are just still working on the tokenomics, honestly. We are just not finalized on it yet, but we have a rough picture on how it goes, but not yet fully finalized on the exact tokenomics.
I get you.
And with respect to the mining part, so basically it's gonna be like your layer 2 system. So there won't be like this mining mechanism won't be over there. We'll be running on top of it. It'll be like more like a token. It's not a coin. So we won't have that mining mechanism. So you'd have to do any health related items to earn this coin. So that will be the mining for this particular domain.
Right.
Like if you do anything that can take care of your health, yeah. So that is your mining for here.
Exactly. I think it's interesting to think about mining in different ways. Like we have, Bitcoin mining, sure. But there are different ways that you can essentially manage the emergence of circulating supply, right? And it seems like there are some interesting ways to do that. I'm always curious to know how we can build ways to build bridges to build between the sort of digital space that we're in and the meat space that people operate in their daily lives, and if we can find ways to use these tools to incentivize people to be healthier humans, then that's fantastic.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the domain that I'm definitely interested in. So I'm really interested in all the projects which have a lot of the real life use cases. So where that's got they can get into the mainstream the population, where you don't have to know a lot about crypto and everything. And for example, if I'm not at all a crypto friendly person, still I'll be able to just work out and then get the coins and use it for my hospital bills or pay my gym or those kind of things. Is going to be a crazy utility already built out of it. So
yeah, I mean,
that's the kind of the utility.
Even for the Club Raphael part, like where my imagination goes with this project is just this world where you have a genuine, just an Airbnb style marketplace where you can just exchange these things. And if you think about it, it's ownership. But if you're thinking about it also as like a timeshare or someplace, you can do all sorts of amazing things there and disintermediate all the bullshit if you have that, right? Not having to go through these different networks, right? You just have a decentralized exchange where you can find, something that you like and exchange it, or sell the one that you have. Yeah.
So that's a different way of staking. Like once you say you stake your days. So now you own an NFT, you have the number of days, and now you stake your days. So that's again a different concept of staking. And one of the things that we thought at Club Raphael is basically if you have a property now, it doesn't matter you have a palace or a small house or whatever. The swapping is always going to be 1:1. Like one day you give out yours and you take one day of anything else in the pool. So I mean, there has been a few other projects that's been coming out in the similar domains, but every project I feel is in the work of trying to work out the legal hassles. So that's why such a anything related with actual real estate, it's like slow.
No,
it doesn't come out at that pace.
I had a buddy, folks on the who are in the audience frequently. They know Billy Jitsu. He's a important contributor to the One Hive ecosystem. He's got his own show every other Tuesday, And when he heard about what y'all are doing, he was really excited because he had actually been doing. He has deployed end to end an NFT project of his own, community based, and so he's a dev, has his own IT company outside of crypto, but he's got a lot of great insights. And he, in hearing about y'all's project, was interested in learning more because at least stateside here in the U.S., this is like a legal non-starter, right? So it's important, I think, to keep in mind what's possible, because even if there are current roadblocks, remain optimistic. And I think that sometimes the tech like this will overwhelm at a certain point in time. Are there places in the world, are there certain countries that you could see Collabora IFAL launching in, or maybe you guys have already identified those, or not?
So as of the launch part, we were planning to launch in the Dubai. So where the government by itself is trying to push a lot to the crypto to show themselves as a very crypto friendly and DAO friendly country. So that's where essentially Club Raphael was looking out to start, and then we were looking at Switzerland and Southeast Asia first, and before going to the US.
Right on, man. I actually have quite extensive contacts in Southeast Asia. We'll have to talk sometime, man. I lived in Southeast Asia for like 3 years. Very cool. Very exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Would like to talk.
It's good to chat, man. I know we're approaching the top of the hour. If there's anything else you'd like to share, but it's good to finally connect, man, and get a chance to share about both these projects with the good people here.
Yeah, really good. And I think that will be great for today. And I'll just keep following One Hype TV. And I really love what you're trying to do. And I love, listening out to your news part, because that's where I get, because a lot of things, I think there's a lot of things happening, but it's very difficult to actually pinpoint the good projects right now. So I think if you can also create a list of the good projects available so that they can browse through and contribute, I think that'll be amazing.
Yeah, we're always trying
because
to
I
bring
think you
stuff.
are also in touch with a lot of good projects now. Yep, correct.
Right on, man. Well, it's good to have you on, Joseph, and we'll talk soon, man.
Yep,
and get you back on to chat.
Yep,
have a good
you.
week.
We'll connect with you. Bye-bye.
Cheers, man.
Thank you. Have a good week.
You too, man. And cheers to everybody in the audience here as well on Discord, on YouTube. Everybody had a good weekend, off to a good start of the week. And we will see everybody next Monday. If you want to catch the NFT and gaming program, that'll be on Wednesday at 3. And next week we'll have 4 shows. So buckle up. Billy will be back. The LATAM show will be back as well next Thursday. Everybody have a great day. GM and cheers.